Welcome back to Norfolk Notables. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. You're watching NCTV. And my guest today is again Ernie Alix. He's going to talk to us about hot rods that he has worked on and built. And I'm excited to hear about that. Before we start, I just want to mention I'm considering changing the name of the show to Notables because I've been made aware of the fact that there are a lot of notables in Rentham and Plainville, and I think I have a source for ferreting those people out. And so just to announce it, if you do know anybody in those other towns, of course Norfolk as well, obviously, but if you know anybody else, please email me, and my email should be there on the bottom of the page. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for coming back. Oh, I'm so glad to see you again. Alrighty, now we're going to view some pictures. You're going to do a little narration.
Right. What we have here is a 54 Chevy hardtop. And as you can see, it is in terrible shape. Floors are gone, bottoms of the doors, rocker panels, you name it, it's no good. Plus the motor's no good. But I still paid $200 for it. So even the frame is rotted. This is the way it came home. Now the next picture will show you after that thin layer of paint came off, what the driver's door looks like.
Now, excuse me, was the first one after you fixed it?
No, it's the way I bought it. It's like a bum with a new suit of clothes on it. It's got the white paint covering all of the rust.
I see. Now you're okay. I get it. Okay.
So once I removed the paint, preliminarily, you can see one of the coats hiding the rust underneath.
Huh.
This photo here, you got to take them all the way down if you're going to do anything with them.
Now that coat of paint wouldn't have stayed on very long.
No.
It would have just bubbled up.
Yeah, a lot of it had bubbled up. It's almost like you put white on and you can't see any messes.
It's like a masking.
If you put black on, stuff shows up.
Interesting.
With white, it just
funny.
Kind of blends into the sunset.
Now, what year did you acquire this?
I got this one approximately 6 years ago.
Oh, recent. Oh.
Yeah, I had done a 57 Chevy before that. That one took me off and on working on it probably about 5 years. This one took me less than 2 years because the first one was search and find. You got to get everything. You got to put it in your head on how to do them. And the 57 came out excellent. That was a show winner of everything around here. And
57 Chevy is a line in one of the old songs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't remember what I did yesterday, but that.
And it was a song 57 Chevy.
That's right. Yes.
But and there's quite a few mentions of them. They were the pristine car. I remember as a teenager growing up, you would see those going by, and your tongue would hang out. And I remember a friend of mine's father had a 57 Chevy that I always loved it, and then he let his daughter borrow it, and the following day it was up on its roof.
Oh, dear God.
But that was a horrible one way back then. She didn't get hurt, but the car...
And no seatbelts?
No, they were... Actually, seatbelts were just starting to come around. They actually started off on seatbelts when the people came back from World War II. They had the seatbelts in the planes.
Right.
And so...
That's right. Originally, they did not.
An interesting sidebar there is that the stock car races started putting them in their stock cars. But the controlling body of the stock car racing societies said no. But then they relented and said, okay, if you think you're going to hit something, loosen the belt.
Oh, so you don't get injured from the belt?
The knowledge back there was that the belt around your stomach would do a lot of injuries into your stomach.
Right.
Because back then the doors weren't
They didn't have the thing, exactly.
The doors would fly open and the guys would get thrown out on the track. But that's where they started with the seat belts.
Ernie, I have a question about Chevy. When did they lose their reputation for being? I mean, they had a very good reputation in the 50s, and then when did they? What changed with them?
What changed them was insurance. All the cars went to hell after '73 because you couldn't get any horsepower. You couldn't get any the gases, you couldn't buy gas in a lot of cases.
Oh, I remember that.
I had a 73 El Camino with a 454 in it, and it was only rated at less than 200 horsepower. The year before, that same motor with a different cam, different carburetors was rated over 400 horsepower. So it was everything that went wrong in the automotive ownership and having fun with all went to hell with the insurance companies.
But didn't the whole quality of Chevy come into question when people began to think it was just kind of a...
Well, all of them, Chevy, but all of them were basically the same. They started, instead of having stainless steel trim on the early stuff, around 62.
And chrome.
Yeah, they started putting chrome plating on plastic. So they found that worked, and that worked real cheap. Then they had a type of aluminum they were using, and they would put a glaze on the aluminum to make it look like it was stainless steel, but nothing beats stainless steel. And also they were making the steel thinner on the vehicles.
What is that?
The steel itself, the gauge of the steel,
okay.
the thickness of it, they were making it much thinner. The bumpers, front bumpers for safety-wise, if you took the front ones off, they were like juice cans in the back.
I remember that.
And so when they collapsed, you collapsed the juice can, and they were ugly and heavy bumpers, but they didn't have a lot of strength.
But I thought originally that originally it was chrome and not stainless steel.
Stainless steel was on all of your trim.
Really? Oh.
Chrome was on the bumpers because it was much too expensive.
Right.
They actually made some Cadillacs that were stainless steel. 57 especially, they had an Eldorado that had stainless steel roof on it that was just unbelievable.
And painted, or
they didn't paint it.
It was
just polished stainless steel.
That must have been like a special edition of it.
Well, it was an option.
Oh my goodness!
They even made.
Talk about reflection.
I have a booklet from a museum that shows a picture of a 35 Ford, and that is all stainless steel. It was made by individuals. How they got the molds, I don't know how they did it.
All shiny.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to hold you up with your pictures.
Okay.
I want to be sure you get through to you.
Yeah. This is the front view again of existing. Radiator shot, everything else.
This is the same car.
Same car, just different views. Now, this one I'm going to show you two pictures at once. This is the engine itself that I'm working to put on a 1953 Corvette tri-power system. They only made 280 of those from the factory. Extremely rare. I took those down to carburetors of Daytona, where they actually make new floats and gaskets for them. The owner down there, when he saw them, checked them all out, he says because of the linkage and a few other things on it, and he said they do 80% of the ones in existence that were restored, that these are the oldest ones he's ever seen.
You went to Florida with this.
Yeah, it was an excuse to go to Bike Week.
And this was in this same vehicle.
That was, the motor was, but this carburetor system was not.
Oh, okay.
So this is what it looked like.
Oh my.
When I finished it. The motor was 100% taken apart.
Good. Yeah, there it is.
Everything rebuilt. Everything got to work perfectly. The stainless steel paint on the dual exhaust, I got those out of Arizona.
Why the orange?
Because it just looked good.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make the vehicle orange and off-white. And that orange is actually Emron. That is the paint that they use to paint boats with.
Oh, okay.
Very expensive.
All sprayed.
Very difficult to put on too. You're going to be extremely careful with it.
Did you put the paint on yourself, or did you have someone do? Okay.
Yeah, I did. 99% of everything in here. This was the beginning of changing over the interior. If you're a car aficionado,
Those old steering wheels. Oh my God.
you would notice that from here over, that's dashboard is out of a 57 Chevy. This portion is still 54. So I married the two halves together. The steering
And they fit, obviously.
Well, I had to make them fit. And those large steering wheels, which that one comes out of a 57 Chevy, have the nickname of Armstrong steering, because you had to have strong arms.
And you had
There was
no power steering.
power steering.
You know, my God, I learned to drive on a car, and it was hard to hold those things. I mean, it was not, the ones now are.
That's why the wheel was so big, to give you a mechanical advantage. So this is what...
Oh, for the torque, not torque, but I understand.
Yeah, mechanical advantage. Now this is what it looked like after I
Oh, no.
painted it and
Where
finished.
did you get the upholstery?
I had it done by Mark's Upholstering over in Foxborough. He,
Right on 140?
yeah, on
That
140.
same guy?
Yeah, Mark is good. He has
Oh, my God.
he has a guy in there of Russian descent, and he is just unbelievably good. This particular
Gee, that's really something.
vehicle is a Bel Air, and the Bel Air had inside of it stainless steel strips across the interior to hold up the
Yes.
top portion. And he had to do all of that while laying on his back, and it took him a couple of days. He said, other than one of the Buicks he did before, this was the most complicated top that he has done. I did all the stainless. I used to have a little side thing where I would do stainless steel for people building hot rods, and I can weld stainless steel, and you'll never know I was there. I've actually put two pieces together and put them on the side of a car.
Now, did you pick I assume this is not leather. This is vinyl? Or is this leather?
Yeah, it's leatherette, they call it.
I assume you picked the colors and then matched the steering wheel?
I just used the paint that I used on the motor. I painted the steering wheel.
But how would you get this match? I mean, did you have to look through a lot of samples? I mean, or he did it, or he matched it?
Yeah, well, I just brought them down a sample of the color, and they go through their catalogs, like you would go through a paint catalog anywhere else to paint your walls.
But this material is different from metal, so you could have a slight difference in the texture. It's going to change.
Oh,
the color.
texture does make a difference, and what you have for an undercoating makes a difference for what's on it. But no, he's good. He was able to match it out.
This is what you call snazzy.
Yeah, and this has the old piping on the seats like they used to
Yes.
have on some of the older boats. Actually, really had it a lot.
God. Oh my God.
Now this is one of the photos at a car show. That particular car now has so many trophies, you're tripping all over them. That
And where is his car now?
in my garage.
Oh, has Chris Weeder ever seen this up close?
He's seen the photos. I don't know if he's seen the
Oh my God.
actual vehicle.
So now somebody did that painting for you. Was that stenciled or?
I had an artist come in that I know that has done this for most of his life, and he drew them.
Oh, okay.
Then I painted them.
Oh, with like a little brush, obviously.
Yeah, well, I masked it all off.
Oh, okay.
And then I painted them with, I have this high velocity, low pressure spray guns. Normally you see people there spraying, they're at 30 to 40 pounds of pressure, and you see just paint all over the place. Well, the average gallon of paint now costs you real cheap stuff. And white would still cost you in the $300 area. And you only get 3/4 in the can, because for another $100.
You're talking about this type of paint, not house paint.
No, this type, automotive paint.
Yeah, okay.
But that's Emron.
Uh-huh.
You double the price on Emron. And if it's red paint,
I've heard of that.
If it's red paint or reddish with gold or anything else, you're talking in the $800 a gallon. But you only get 3/4 of a gallon in the gallon, because you got to put an additive, a hardener with it. And the hardener costs you $100.
Yep.
So you add another
Yep.
100 to the price of
Oh
what you're
my
doing.
goodness.
So it's just out of sight. But if you use a spray gun that uses 30 pounds of pressure, say, a lot of the paint is bouncing off of what you're spraying it on. But the one that I have, it only has 3 pounds of pressure, and it operates it with heated air, using almost the size of a garden hose.
Now, how could it be high velocity and low pressure?
Well,
Aren't they connected?
No, you're pushing it through a nozzle, a very, very small nozzle, and the old Venturi comes into it.
Oh, like
which
in the
is
grills.
Just like a jet plane.
Uh-huh.
A jet plane that goes in real big, they squeeze it through
Yeah,
the Venturi,
yeah,
and it
okay.
comes out the other end. Well, you're almost doing that with a spray gun. And you're wasting half the paint because it's bouncing off, going in the air, going on the ground, everywhere else. And with the price of paint, and with all the EPA laws now, you use this because you're not putting vitals, I guess they call it, into the air. So by necessity, you actually have to do this stuff.
Now, tell us about the tires. And the grill, was that the original grill, or is that a...
In order to put this motor in, the last carburetor hit the firewall. This motor with these carburetors was made for a Corvette. And you had...
Which would have been wider?
Well, longer.
Oh, okay.
From the front to the firewall. So what I had to do is I moved forward the motor 2 inches. I moved to do that, then I had to move the front wheels forward 2 inches. So when you move that, I had to move the steering box forward 2 inches, which means I had to change the steering length of the steering rod. But I lucked out there because the original steering wheels were flat. The one from a 57 Chevy had a indentation.
For the fingers?
No, it had an indentation setback of 2 inches. See how it is?
Oh, yes.
It's set back. So I was able to come up with that all right. Now the problem was, too, that the clutch and brakes, the master cylinder for them was just on the other side of the firewall. Now all of this...
Firewall being right behind the dashboard.
Right.
So totally to protect people.
So that hit the last carburetor. So I couldn't put it there, and I didn't want to put it underneath because it's prone to rust. So I found in California a rig that would go at right angles. Your pedals would be here, and with hind joints, it would go this way, all under the dash, so you couldn't see it. So I ended up putting that in there. The grill on this, where I had to move everything forward, and everybody had 54 Chevy grills. I put this one in from a 41 Plymouth.
Did you have a lift? You were using a lift, right?
No, lay on the old backy. But I did make a rotisserie out of an old Model A frame. So you would hook that onto the front of the car, hook the other portion on the back of the car. I had a hydraulic...
A rotisserie to cook?
No, a rotisserie to turn the car around.
Oh!
So you would bolt the front of the frame and the back of the frame to these arms. The arms had hydraulic jacks under them that would raise them up in the air. You would lock them in place with a pin, undo another pin, and you could turn them 360 degrees. So when you were working underneath, you would turn the car on its side. And then you could just stand up normally and...
Now, we've got about 9 minutes, so I don't want to keep you from getting showing all your pictures here. So
okay.
Let you
now,
do your...
Yeah, the rest of it's kind of like brain droppings. This one here, I was doing a job down at Amtrol down in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Is that you on the left?
Yeah, on your side.
Very dashing.
And Claude Akins was the spokesman for them. So I knew he was coming in, and I was working on a friend's 57 Chevy at the same time. So I took it to work, asked Claude Akins if he would sit in it. Of course, Claude Akins is a very big person, and so he did. He sat in it for me, and we got his picture.
Now, was he a driver?
Claude Akins?
Or was he a musician?
He was a movie star. He made all kinds of...
okay.
A lot of B movies, and he was always a secondary tough guy, especially in the Westerns.
Oh, all right. I knew the name, but
Yeah. So he was nice enough to do all this for me. Now these here, I've got away from the car stuff, are follow-ups from what we talked about last
good.
time.
Oh, all right. Okay, yes, I remember you.
Statuary.
Oh, yes.
Now this is a statue that I had bought.
Oh.
It's 30 inches high.
Is it Cupid?
No, they're archangels from what I can
okay.
gather. But if you look close, out of the two of them, there's only one arm.
Right.
So my problem was to make the arms.
Oh.
Which,
arm missing here.
right? And there's only one that has an arm.
And this is plaster cast?
No.
What is that?
These are all steel. These are all cast steel. They're all pot metal, they call
and
it.
were painted white?
No, I did that. I sandblasted it to get rid of all the old paint and to bring it back.
So why does it look white if it's
Because
steel?
when you sandblast something, it takes the moisture out of it. It does everything, and it basically turns to the white. And
that is steel, that as white as it is?
Here I probably have primer on it.
Oh, okay.
That would put it back.
Yeah.
And they were holding Bibles and different
Now,
books.
is this at your
and all
house
this.
here? Is this...
Yeah, it's in my workshop, yeah. So I said, nah, I'll make archangels out of them. So I gave them spears and swords and
avenging angels.
everything else. Yeah. So,
oh my God! But they didn't originally. So who? Someone owned this, and asked you to work.
no, I paid $3 for the busted statue.
Oh, they were always yours.
At a flea market.
Oh, because I thought somebody brought this to you, and
No,
then you
no,
turn
that
around
one-
and give it back to them with the
No. Now I'm gonna just sneak
Right.
this one in here and show one of these. I know we weren't going to get into these, but this has a little bit to do with it. This came from a postcard, and later on I'll tell who had them. This was the old man house in the center of town. Daly's gas station sets right here, and there used to be a stone wall here where we used to sit and
Is
drink.
that what's up on
beer.
that's what the man house? The tramp house is on the common.
Tramp house is over on the common.
And
But anyway, this one would be right next door where the bank is down here with the drive-through.
but not there now.
Oh no, it's long gone. But anyway, you can see down here that this became the first Catholic church in Norfolk. And there was also a small post office in here. These were stained glass windows. I ended up buying one of these stained glass windows, and I made this hutch top out of it.
Oh my! Is that at your house now?
No, that's long gone.
Did you sold it? Or?
Yeah, stuff doesn't stay long, but I pass it along. But anyway, that would go with these, which we're going to bring up at another time.
Yes, and that's a door there that you put the glass into.
Oh, I made the whole top.
Okay, because you had
Yeah.
to make
Had to make it so
to fit the
Yeah.
glass.
So while we're just showing oddball things that I've done, we go back to the car, and this is in custom cars of Europe. Wouldn't all fit on because the European books are a little bit bigger magazines than they are here. And this was taken up at the car show up in Worcester, and they also did a 10-minute go-through on it, interviewing me, which went on their CD that they sold worldwide.
Now, is this in English? The captions are in English?
Oh, yes, it's in English.
How did they find out about you?
They have a representative here in Massachusetts, and he goes to all the car shows.
Out everything in it.
And he sends them back over there, and they publish.
Oh my goodness! And you still have this. Now, could this be, with all the modifications? Could this be not registered, but get its inspection?
I could get 54 plates for it, 1954.
Could you get an inspection sticker?
It has one.
Even though you don't have all the EPA required.
Oh, that isn't necessary. To get an inspection sticker, you only have to have on it what was from the factory, safety-wise.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they would.
Now they've come down as far as they're even getting people that are getting real picky that don't have their windshield washers operating.
But it doesn't conform to the present-day standards for exhaust, does it?
This vehicle is safer than the present-day stuff.
In terms of the exhaust.
And I did have the exhaust run through just so we would see what it was, without any smog on it at all. it would pass today's smog stuff. The old engines were very efficient, and
So that's the issue, the efficiency.
oh yes, yeah, and your gas mileage. This one's was right up close to 20 miles per gallon, because when you're just riding along, you're only using a single one barrel. You're not using the triples.
Because my Honda CRV was a 21 to the miles to the gallon, and I thought it was terrible. And now you're telling me this. Wow. Now, so the black we're seeing around the windshield, that is stainless.
Yes, everything up top is stainless.
And good. Now, how did you get that curve in there? Did you?
Well, that's all factory. That's stainless.
And you were able to still acquire it. Did you have to go through a
No, they were on it.
And you fixed it.
I was just missing one part. This one right across here on the opposite side, and they only made that particular type for 1 year. So I was able to get it. I saw a guy had a magazine. I happened to see it for sale, and the guy had one he was tearing apart in California, and I bought the other side from him.
Now speaking of the British, I believe there's a picture. I think Katie's gotten it already, of you driving a Triumph.
Yeah, this was. This is down the old Middleborough racetrack, and actually, I think the Hells Angels had taken over by that time.
I hope Paul Roach watches the show.
And one of the races they had down there was pushing beer kegs for about 100 yards.
Empty.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think maybe we emptied them down there, but anyway, yeah, it's very difficult because you got to concentrate and keep the least little movement. That beer keg is gone.
Like rolling like a hoop in the old days, and they would have a hoop rolling with a stick.
But
oh my goodness! Well, you cut quite a figure.
And that was a Triumph that I had built, and the nice thing about the Triumph, they're nice and light, and you can see what you're doing. The big Harley Davidsons, they had given up. They weren't even in there. So I have a lot of fun doing that.
And where did this take place?
That was in Middleborough, Mass. While we were down there, it was a rodeo that went on down there, and there was probably 20, 25 of us that went down. We take our wives, and actually the kids run around down there. I had a hell of a time, and they had a tug-of-war contest. And the guys that run the place had never lost. So we had some pretty strong big boys in this town, in this area. We all hung together. We had one guy, he casts a shadow when he walks. We dug a hole and stuck him in at the end of the tug of war. We had a rope like this. So you only allowed 7 people. So we had 7, they had 7. And of course, after you have preliminary pull-offs and all this stuff, we were pretty well worn down, but they made sure that they were ready for us, and they didn't pull with a lot of others. So we get in there, and they had never lost down there. So we get in, and all of a sudden we're beating them, and we're looking up there, and they got 10 men pulling
instead of
the 7 like us. Oh. So we had a guy run out with from a beer cooler. He took a bunch of ice water and a towel, threw it on our heads, gave us a re-go again. We all stood up and just went to.
You didn't just object to the 3 extra people?
No, because we beat them.
Listen, we've run out of time here, but this has just been absolutely fascinating, and I'm looking forward to having you come back with all these pictures. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Norfolk.
And thank you for watching Norfolk Notables. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. My guest was Ernie Alix.